to hire, because it may not be that it's an industry-wide thing. Certain companies may be seeking to expand. And so getting to know people at different companies and getting a feel for what's happening within the organization. Are they going to expand at some point? Is there some movement? Is there some growth? Are there new projects that may be coming on? Especially if you're in the tech space, there may be organizations that are seeking to do some sort of system implementation. I'll tell you, before I left my corporate career, we had like 3 or 4 different system implementations that were going on. And so they needed the resources to help implement those systems and make sure they worked with our IT infrastructure. So this is the time for you to get your ear or put your ear to the ground and understand what's happening. So even if you're not getting a job, this is the time for you to build relationships as much as possible. And again, there are industries that's hiring. It's not that the sky is falling for everyone. The second question I get all the time is, Julia, I am doing all I can. What is going on? Now, so this is a tough love moment. So bear with me. I love y'all. Thank you for being here, but I'm gonna get real with y'all. It's easy to say I'm doing all I can, but the question is, are you truly doing all you can? And I will tell you that this comes even from working with my coach, my business and my speaking coach. When I say I'm doing all the things, I'm doing all the things. And he'll ask me a series of questions. It's like, oh, wait, I didn't do that for real. Oh, no, I didn't. Oh, shoot. So I want to just talk through some of the things when it comes to I'm doing all I can. What does that really look like for you? So for example, I had a client who said, I've been applying to jobs online nonstop. And I said, okay, great. What else? And it was kind of like, there was nothing after that. And so, yes, you're applying and you're showing up every day, but in this job market where we know there's competition, just applying online is not going to get us there. Just applying on LinkedIn is not going to get us there, especially when you're just filtering on the job board on LinkedIn. And some of the jobs may be stale. We know some of the jobs may be shadow postings. So my question is, when you say that you're doing all you can, what are the action steps that are falling underneath that? So if you're applying on job boards, the question is, are you just going to 1 or 2 job boards? Are you going to job boards that are industry specific? Are you having conversations with recruiters that are in your industry about what's going on? Even if you like LinkedIn, LinkedIn is my jam. I'm showing up here tonight. This is my space. There's a place on LinkedIn where you can actually do certain Boolean searches to check and see what kind of postings have been made by actual recruiters to see what is available, so that if there are recruiters who are asking specifically for your skill set and they're hiring for positions that you would fit, you can find those posts and you can filter on what's most recent versus, the stuff that may be on the job board that's 30 days old, 45 days old, and maybe it's filled already. So the question is, how are you going about your search? Then there's a conversation as to, well, I am networking. Okay, great. Who are you networking with? And I will tell you this, warm leads and warm connections will always work better than cold ones. So yes, by all means, I want you to talk to recruiters. I want you to talk to hiring managers. I want you to talk, build relationships, because finding a job, it is a job in itself. And connections can always get you farther than just an application itself. But if you have the opportunity, this is the time for you to tap into every warm network you have. One great place to start is your school's network, your alumni association. Are you engaging with those folks there? Because they have direct lines to employers. So starting with your school's employee network, are you part of a sorority or a fraternity? Are you tapping into your brothers and sisters and asking the question? Are you tapping into the associations associated with your walk with me. But are you tapping into the folks that are in your industry? So it's like the marketing association, the finance, the healthcare professionals. Are you tapping into those networks as well? Are you tapping into volunteer organizations that you may work with? The people that you may have been helping and serving for a long time, there are people on the boards of those, or there are administrators, there are people there that may be hiring in your community. There are so many different places. If you played a sport, you guys know that I work with athletes. If you've stopped by my profile on my website, athletes have a built-in network. So as former coaches, teammates, trainers, coordinators, there's so many people that you can tap into. And so I want to make sure when we say that we're networking, yes, network and send the DMs, send the emails, do the cold outreach for sure to people and build the relationships. But you have people that are already built in. You have family members, you have friends. Take a look at, their networks and see, hey, can you make an introduction on my behalf? Can you have a conversation on my behalf? This is the time to tap into everything possible. And so I just want to, I know it's a tough love moment, because, you are putting in the work, but the question is, if you're just doing one or two things, there may be three other things that may assist you in accelerating the results you want in your job search. The third question I get, so we've talked about, is it me or is it the market? And we've also talked about, I'm doing all I can, Julia. The third question is my resume. How long should my resume be? Does it matter? I'm tired of working on my resume. What do I need to do? Now, here's the thing. I saw something online earlier where someone said, the length of your resume doesn't matter. I'm going to tell you, as someone who has hired people, I wholeheartedly disagree with that. The reason is, how much time does anyone have to spend to read your resume? Especially if there's a stack of resumes, because I wasn't a recruiter, I was a hiring manager, and I got the filtered stuff. So imagine the person on the step before me, and they're doing the filtering. You have to think about how much time someone has to spend working on your resume. I'll make it even simpler. Think about when you're having a conversation with someone via text message and they send you this long War and Peace novel for you to read. What's your immediate reaction? I ain't finna read all that. And you put the phone down, right? Or it's like you just pick up the phone or you call them, or it's like, I'll get back to that. That's just in your personal life. So think about that times 100 for the person, the recruiter that is sifting through your resume and everyone else's. So I firmly disagree that the length of your resume doesn't matter. What I will say is that you don't want to necessarily sacrifice quality of resume because you're trying to shove everything on one page. Don't do that either. But if the idea is that your resume should be as long as it needs to be to convey the value, and that's it. And so for the most part, if you're submitting a private sector resume, I'm not talking about the government where you have to add in the additional layers about the salary and the supervisor and so on. Especially for private sector resumes where all that detail is not required. If you're going past 2 pages, this is a time for you to ask yourself, is everything that I'm going to put on the subsequent pages, 3, 4, whatever, is it truly relevant to where I'm going now? Is it truly relevant to the opportunity I'm trying to go after? Because if the answer to that is no, then it needs to come off the resume. You don't need to add it. Again, less is more when you're able to convey the value. So I wanted to just kind of get that out of the way. It doesn't have to be 1 page, but remember, someone has to read that. So just be mindful. So that's the first piece on resume length. So, and then in terms of, I don't really feel like, catering my resume or tailoring and all that kind of stuff. I'll give you another example. Think about you going on a date with someone and you're striking up a conversation and the person is just saying the same thing that they've said to every other person before. It's like, man, this don't feel authentic at all. I don't know if I want date 2 or if I want to even keep this conversation going. If let's say you started on a dating app and it sounds like you're getting a canned message from them, you're less likely to progress in a conversation with them because you're just like, you saying the same thing everybody else is saying, or it sounds like you're just copying and pasting from person to person. That's not a vibe. I'm out. The same thing goes for when it comes to your resume. Do you have to change every single word every time you write a resume? No, that's just inefficient. But you have to think about, if you're applying in different industries because you have transferable skills, the tailoring is required, because you have to make sure that your message is catering and tailored to the person that's looking for it in that industry. And so I know it's like, it seems like it's a labor, it's a lot of work. I get it. I fully understand. But if the whole purpose is getting results from the job search. So sure, you can cut corners and copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. But then when you say, hey, I've put in 100 applications and I haven't got any responses, a part of that may be that if you took the shortcuts with just copying and pasting the resume, that, now you may not be getting the results or the callbacks that you're looking for. So that's the other thing. You don't have to tailor every word. You shouldn't be spending a day or 3 days on a resume every time you have to do a submission. You should have core, like the core of the resume should be the same, because the essence of your experience is the same. But you have to make the tweaks to highlight what may be important in one industry and then tweak it for what may be important in another industry. And of course, again, I want to stop here and say, if you have questions, if based on anything I've said so far about the market, about resumes, please go ahead and drop it in the chat, and I would be happy to answer that. The fourth question that I get is, I am burnt out on this process. I'm done. I'm tired. I don't want to do this no more. I want to take my ball and go home. I do get that. Applying for jobs is a difficult process. It's a long process. I fully understand that. But the challenge is, when you're burnt out on the process, it's like checking out on the process isn't really an option if you know you're in need of employment. So here's what I say: when you are burnt out on the process, there's nothing wrong with taking a step back and resetting. Because if you're burnt out, you may start cutting corners with the applications you submit, with how many tweaks you do to your resume. You may find yourself not delivering your best in the applications, which can then lengthen the process of how long you're in the job search. And so if you're burnt out, if you're like, I need a break, then take that break. And if you have things that you do for yourself, whether it's self-care, whether it's meditation, whether it's time with your family, whatever that is, make sure to prioritize that a little bit more, so that you can reset and feel good in yourself and feel good in your body, so that you can re-engage in the process. I know that it's like, man, I've been applying forever and I'm just not seeing results and I'm burnt out. Fully understand, but think about anything else in life. When you're working out, if you're trying to lose weight, you have to keep going. You have to keep eating healthy. You have to keep drinking water. You have to keep working out in order for you to lose the weight that you want to lose. When it comes to getting a degree, you're tired. You don't want to study for these exams no more. But the fact is, in order for you to get to the end goal, or if it's a certification, in order for you to get to the end goal, you have to keep going. And so when it comes to your job search, when it comes to getting that goal, which is getting a new opportunity, you have to keep going. But take the time you need to take a break, take a step back, reset. And I'll tell you, if it means that a couple of days go by where you're just like, hey, I can't crack open this laptop, I just can't, or else I'm going to break something, that is okay. And I know people will say, well, I got to get a job, hustle culture. But the fact is, if the quality of your applications aren't going to be good, it doesn't really matter. Now, does it? So take the day or two, or the couple of days you need to reset, recalibrate, and regroup, and then hit it hard and hop back into the process. Thank you, Enrique. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you being here. And so that kind of feeds into the next question, where it's, Julia, should I just wait? Should I just stop applying and just say, because the market ain't hitting for nothing, the recruiters ain't calling me back, I'm tired of being ghosted, should I just stop applying? Here's the thing. You can stop applying and everyone else is still going to keep applying. So where does that put you in the race? If you are on a racetrack and you stop, everyone else is still lapping you and running past you, which means that they're getting to the goal faster. So my recommendation is to ensure that you don't stop in the process. If you need to reset, like we just talked about, that's fine. But I recommend that you continue to apply. One, it also continues to give you practice for you to understand what's happening in the marketplace. You get more comfortable on the calls with recruiters and hiring managers. All of that, you maintain that process, and you maintain momentum. You want to make sure that you continue the momentum in the process. You continue to network. You continue to engage, because guess what? When the roles open and when they start to hire, if you're not in the race at all, someone else is going to get picked before you, and now you have to get back in the game and get your head back in the game and reset. Meanwhile, everybody been lapping you on the racetrack. And Enrique has a great point here. You can't catch a fish if you don't put the lure in the water. I love that. That's truly it. If you can't, catch a fish if you don't put the lure in the water. You have to put the lure in the water. If you want a new opportunity, you have to keep applying. You have to keep putting yourself out there. You have to keep having conversations. So stopping the process only hurts you, right? The companies are going to hire the talent that's out there. So if you take yourself out of there, if you take yourself out of the market, that lessens the chance of you having the opportunity that you're looking for. So that would be my recommendation. So those are my top questions on the job search. So I've got my little notebook here, y'all. So the major question, if we step to the next segment, is around the kind of that career plateau where I'm feeling stuck. I'm lacking clarity, all of those things. Now, the conversation that I have with clients, because the bulk of the work that I do is around career transitions, career advancement. So that's what I'm typically in leadership development. That's what I'm working with clients on. So when it comes to their career advancement or even their transitions, the question is, I feel stuck. I don't have any clarity. The first thing I will tell you is you probably have more clarity on what it is that you want to do than you actually know, or that you've actually given yourself credit for. Because there's probably something that may be hitting you in the back of your head, and you may be saying, well, I don't know if I have the skills for that, or I don't really know how to go about that. I don't know what that job is called. I don't know what skills it requires. But a lot of times when we say that we don't have clarity, it's because we feel like we don't have a strategy. Clarity and strategy are not necessarily the same thing. You may have an idea as to what it is you're looking for, what kind of tasks feel good to you, what kind of tasks don't feel good to you, and what kind of space would feel more fulfilling for you. You may have some inkling about that already, but you may not know what it looks like, what to call it, what to search for in the marketplace. And that's where research, hiring a coach like myself, talking to peers, talking to your network can help. But that's the first thing I would want to say about feeling stuck and feeling lost or not having clarity, is that sometimes we have more clarity than we actually think we do. The second thing is, if you truly feel like, man, I don't know, I'm not clear on nothing, Jesus, I'm just out here on the struggle bus. So I want you to take a few steps back. I want you to take a few steps back when you look at yourself and say, if I'm unclear, or if I'm feeling stuck, or I'm feeling unhappy with where I am, why is that? So this is a time for self-reflection. Is it the job itself? Do you feel like the job has not progressed in some way? Do you feel like you were expecting something else from this role? Really examine the job and the work that you're doing. Is the work that you're doing, does it no longer feel fulfilling? Do you feel like there's no growth in the work, that you feel like you've been doing the same thing for 20 years? What is it? Or is it the organization? Do you feel like, hey, I'm in this organization, they don't seem to nurture their people, the culture doesn't feel right, I don't feel like I'm being developed, I don't feel like my manager has my best interests at heart? What's coming up for you in that question as well? And then also, is it a personal issue where you're thinking that, hey, because I had this degree, so, sometimes we're hard on ourselves because like, oh, I got this fancy degree from Harvard, Yale, whatever the case is, and now I'm doing this job and now I feel stuck. because you feel like, hey, I was supposed to be doing something else with my degree and I'm not. Or I feel like I am using my degree and I don't really want to do this anymore. So part of the clarity process is actually getting very real with yourself about what is it that you feel stuck about, or what is it that you feel unclear about. And sometimes we're just trying to do surface work and we're like, oh, well, I don't like the company. Okay, fair. But what is it that you don't like about the organization? What is it that you want that they're not providing? Because if you don't get clear on that stuff, when you start searching again, you may find an organization that's doing the exact same thing and you get there as well. So really taking the time to unpack why it is that you feel stuck and why it is that you feel unclear. The next thing I would say about finding that clarity is really thinking about the work that lights you up. And I want to scene set here. I'm not talking about the work that you feel super uber passionate about. Let me tell y'all something. I love y'all to death, but passion doesn't always pay the bills. You can't deposit passion in the bank. So we have to be mindful when we say we want to find the work that we're super duper passionate about. It's like, is it truly that it has to be passion, or is it something that you enjoy doing that is also allowing you to use your skills and add value? Those are different things. Work can be fulfilling without it being something that you're passionate about. Those are not one and the same. So that's part of the analysis that you need to do for yourself as well, is to say, what kind of work do I actually enjoy doing? And is this work meaningful in the context in which I'm doing it? So, if you've seen my profile, my background is in finance and accounting. And there was a time when doing spreadsheets and doing macros and doing all the things, that was my jam. I still love spreadsheets for personal use, but that was my jam at work for a long time. But as I progressed in my career and I got into leadership and I got into more strategic opportunities, I didn't have that same interest anymore. I can still knock a spreadsheet out if somebody asks me to, but I'm not going to gravitate to a role now that's spreadsheet heavy, VBA heavy, or macros, or like, that's just not my ministry anymore, heavy on to get somebody else to do it. And so this is the time for you to ask yourself, what tasks do I enjoy doing today? What work is valuable for me today? And looking at the organization that I'm a part of, is the work that I'm going to do in this context, is it going to add value? Is it going to be fulfilling? Is it going to help reach an objective? Am I going to feel good about it when I'm done with the work? So really getting clear on the work that feels good to you, but also taking time to think about work that are deal breakers for you. Because that's the fastest way to killing your own morale, is staying in a role and doing work that you just can't stand. There's one thing if it's like, hey, I can get by, it's tolerable. It's another thing if you're going to work every day, having to breathe in the car, having to have a whole ritual and a pep talk to go to work because you just hate the work so much. So take the time to analyze what work you don't want to do as well. And the last thing I'll say about that is thinking about what success looks like to you today. What success looked like to you 5 years ago, 10 years ago, even 12 months ago may not be what it is that you want today. And so taking the time to think about what success looks like is so important, because there may have been a time where climbing the ladder and getting to the top and doing all the things was what was going to work for you from a career perspective. And perhaps your life has changed now. Perhaps, whether it's that you need more flexibility, or perhaps it's that, hey, prioritizing time with your family, prioritizing external activities may mean more to you than climbing to the top of the ladder and staying at work till 10 p.m. and all those kinds of things. So getting clear also on your North Star, what your goals are, what success looks like to you, that will also help you to provide clarity in this process when you're looking for a new job or you're feeling stuck, because it's like, hey, maybe I feel stuck because I'm on a path that no longer aligns with who I am or who I want to be or where I want to go in my career. That may be where you're feeling that push-pull. And so when you're pushing and pulling like this, you realize that you're not getting anywhere. You're still coming back to the same place. And I got some comments. And so Rogers shared that he has a process to find your career identity and craft an identity statement that becomes your North Star for your career direction. It helps with the whole passion discovery and work issue. Thank you so much, Rogers, for sharing that with us. Folks, if Rogers has a tool that he would love to share with you, so you may want to tap in with Rogers here. I'll quickly show his name. So for those of you who are watching, and then Enrique, most organizations have similar environments. You are the only thing different at any one you may go to. Big facts, especially when you're working in kind of large scale organizations. From what I've seen, there is some nuance for sure, but for a lot of established organizations, a lot of the environments are similar in nature. And so you have to ask yourself what really fits, especially if they're organizations of the same size, right? If you're used to working in, enterprise, large organizations, they've got tens of thousands of employees. A lot of them have similar environments. Now, if you're going between large and small or large to medium size, there definitely is a little bit more nuance there because of just from a size and scope thing. And then last comment from Enrique: some work is a point on the way to your passion or dream job. Love that, right? So everything is not going to be your dream job. Everything is not going to be your dream job. It's not going to be your unicorn. That's not the case. Some jobs are stepping stones. Some jobs may just be, it's a pay the bills right now. There's different stages and different steps to opportunities. But finding your North Star and understanding what success looks like to you will still give you the clarity you need to take those steps in the middle. If you have to take a stepping stone right now, if you're just taking something to bridge the gap, keeping your eye on that North Star in terms of what your career vision is, what your idea of success and what your goals are, that will still keep you on a path to moving forward, so you don't keep feeling like I'm stuck, I'm doing this or that, and I'm not going anywhere. And so one of the last questions I wanted to get to, and then if anyone else has questions before I wrap it up, there's a question is, I've been at the same place at work. How do I move forward? And this is for people who are in organizations that perhaps they like the organization, they like the culture, but they feel stuck themselves. That's a very different thing than if you don't like the organization or you're thinking about transitioning, perhaps you're not being treated well, etc. So that's a different thing. But in a case where it's like, hey, I personally feel like I haven't moved forward in my role, here's what I would do. I would ask a couple of questions. The first thing is, what is it that you want? So going back to that clarity work from the prior step, what is it that you actually want? Maybe you're not moving forward, but have you determined what you want to move forward to? The second question is the thing that you want available at your organization? Because sometimes we can love the organization and it's a vibe and we love working with everybody that we're with. It's yes. But if what you're looking for doesn't exist at the organization, or depending on the size and scope, it may take a long time for it to create it, then you have to ask yourself, are you in the right environment to nurture and achieve the career goals that you have? So, you can love an organization, but if it's not enough room for growth, it may not be a place that you can stay in the long term. But let's say, for all intents and purposes, that the organization has what you're looking for. Awesome. We love to see it. The question that I then have is, what conversations have you had with your supervisor about this? And I'm not just talking about mentioning in passing. My question to you would be, do you have a development plan and a career plan with your boss? Because if you have a development plan and a career plan, that means your goals for your career should be outlined and clear to both you and your leader. And so if you have both of those things, now it's on you to keep that conversation going, because I'll tell you, some bosses, they may forget about the plan. They've got 1,000,001 things on their plate, all of that. And so it's for you to keep the conversation going, setting up time on the calendar. If you're having one-on-ones with your leader, that career plan and development plan should be coming up with a certain level of frequency. So if you said it a year ago and you never came back to it, then that means a whole year has gone by and it hasn't been clear on the progress that you need to make to get to that next step or to get to that next milestone. And so talking about talking about your career goals, talking about your development plan with your supervisor is very, very important. Now, there may be someone who's listening like, well, Julie, I've talked to my boss don't care. Okay, so here's what I do in that situation. What kind of network exists in your organization? Who do you know? Do you have mentors? Do you have people that you would consider sponsors? For those who are here, sponsors and mentors are not the same thing. You can have a sponsor that's a mentor, but not all mentors are sponsors. When you talk about sponsors, this is someone that has a certain level of juice, for lack of a better word. You have a certain level of juice that you don't have. They can get into rooms that you aren't in, that you're not being called into for probably some time. These are people that can move the needle on your career in a meaningful way. They can have conversations on your behalf. They can pluck you from one role and place you somewhere else. That's the kind of juice that sponsors usually have. And so if you're in a situation where you have advocated for yourself and you've talked to your supervisor, you've tried to go through these career goals and nothing is moving, this is the time to engage other people in your network within the organizations. Mentors, sponsors, sharing what work you have done, who you've talked to, so that they can understand this is where I can step in. So a mentor can provide you with some additional advice. And then a sponsor may be able to say, well, hey, let me pick up the phone and have a conversation. Here's the other thing, cheat code. Now, but you got to be delicate with this one. If your boss, hasn't helped to move the needle at all, what kind of relationship do you have with their management? And how much does your management know, or how much does their management know about the work that you've done? And if you haven't nurtured a relationship with their boss just yet, that's something I would tap into. Now, you want to make sure that you're not trying, it doesn't come across as if you're trying to circumvent your boss, because that doesn't help either. But seeking to nurture an organic relationship with your boss's leadership, whether it's a team of bosses, if it's just one individual, seeking to build those relationships so they can at least understand who's on the team and what's being done. Because you don't know what conversations your boss is having with them. You don't know what they know about you, if anything. And so taking the time to nurture that relationship can also help you to kind of get a pulse on where the leaders see the organization going, where they see opportunity, what projects may be coming up. And so, because sometimes they may just be chatting. I will tell you from my own career, nurturing relationships with my boss's boss has helped me multiple times. And even if they didn't place me in a job right then, I was able to hear from them what's important to them, what kind of work they find valuable, who's getting to move where and why. So that those are things that I could apply in terms of how I was approaching my work, what kind of projects I was looking at. And so again, you don't want to be, seeming like you're trying to circumvent, but this is also a time for you to advocate for yourself and build the relationships that you need to. I say this all the time. You are the CEO of your career. You are the architect. You are the judge, jury, executioner, all the things when it comes to your career. You don't have to play small. You don't have to fit in anybody's box. This is a time for you to go after what you want, because at the end of the day, your success belongs to you. And so with that, I want to take a minute or two to see the questions, if there's any. I think there's one here. How long would you say spending time in those stepping stones should be? And Enrique had a fantastic answer to that. But staying in a stepping stone type role, how long should you be there? Enrique's position is as long as it has met the need for having that stepping stone. You don't want to understay your need or overstay your welcome. I really don't have much to add to that. The truth is, a stepping stone role is just that. It's to get your footing for the next opportunity. And so when you get into a stepping stone role, you should be looking at, okay, well, where is it that I'm actually trying to go next? And what is the gap that still needs to be filled? Is it a skill set gap? Is it a certification gap? Is it a money gap? Is it a location gap? Thinking about what is the distance between this stepping stone and where I'm really trying to get to. And the time that you spend in that stepping stone role should just be to fill that gap. You don't want to overstay your welcome and overstay your time in a stepping stone role, because you also may not want to get pigeonholed there, whether it's salary, whether it's thoughts about your expertise or the value that you can add. So the time that you're spending in a stepping stone role is solely for closing the gap. So hopefully that answers the question. Rogers also shared some thoughts around the fact that some companies have a policy of providing skip level sessions with your manager's boss. Definitely use this to control your own narrative in the eyes of senior level leadership. Definitely a great point. So if you can have those sessions, for sure. The other thing I will tell you is that if your organization, because it's 2024 and a lot of companies, we outside, right? So if you have the opportunity to attend, whether it's certain meetings, whether it's certain dinners, lunches, happy hours, whatever it is that you're having, this is the time, if you can attend those, to attend those. The reason is it creates an informal space for you to start to build relationships where you don't have to put time on somebody's calendar and so on. Now, I know a lot of people feel like, I don't want to be a kiss ass. I don't know if I can say that on LinkedIn, but we're here. But the fact is, you're thinking about your own career. So it's not about kissing up to anyone. It's not about being inauthentic. It's about being strategic in your career journey. That's what this is about. It's not about, what it looks like to someone else. It's about, what is the strategy that I need to deploy right here in order for me to get to my career goals? That's what this is about. So when you go to some of these dinners and lunches and happy hours, whatever your organization is making available, it's about you striking up the conversations and having the relationships that you need to have in order for people to see you, to understand what kind of work you do, what value you've been adding on your team, any key projects, just having conversations. I'll give you a quick example before we wrap up this evening. In one of my corporate roles, I had an opportunity to go to one of the happy hours, and I had a chance to ask questions to some of the senior leaders that were there. What I found out later was that when my name came up for something, someone said, "Oh, she was the young lady who worked in such and such group who asked us these questions about this. They were thoughtful, et cetera, et cetera." So it was something that left an impression. And again, for me, I'm inquisitive. But those are things that struck a chord with the people that I was speaking to. And so I wasn't out here just pitching, promote me, give me a new job. I wasn't pitching that. It was having an organic conversation, but asking thoughtful questions about the direction of the team, some of the strategy I had heard about, because again, I was in finance. And so, we were looking at the impact on the financials. So again, it's about strategy, y'all. This ain't a time to be like, I don't want to kiss up to anybody. How important are your career goals to you? That's the fundamental question to leave you with. How important are your career goals to you? Because if they're truly important, you're going to be willing to do what's necessary to get there with integrity. I want to say that, with integrity, without stepping on someone, stepping over someone, or doing something underhanded. If your career goals mean a lot to you, that's what you're going to be willing to do. And so with that, I want to say thank you for spending the past 45 minutes with me and listening to my frequently asked questions. And thank you to Enrique and Natalie and Rogers for sharing your insights and asking questions. And if you have enjoyed tonight's live stream, I would love for you to connect with me here on LinkedIn or whatever platform you're watching on. I would love for you to connect with me there. If you are interested in moving forward and having a deeper conversation about your specific career journey, I would love to talk to you about that. You can email me at hello@rockcareer.com. You can DM me on LinkedIn or whatever platform you're following me on, or you can actually go to the website and send a message through there. But no matter the channel, I am here to support you on your career journey. Again, you are the architect. You don't have to stay stuck. And so let me just actually wrap this up by saying this. If you are here and you're feeling stuck, I just want you to know you don't have to feel that way. You don't have to stay that way. There is opportunity out there for you. The right role is out there for you. The clarity, the money, the life, the success, the things that you want are attainable. Just because you're hitting the skids right now, that doesn't mean that it's going to be forever. It doesn't mean that it's always going to feel like this. If you are willing to stay the course, if you're willing to take the action steps, if you're willing to implement the strategies, it is possible for you to get what you want. It doesn't mean just because someone else besides you is getting it doesn't mean that there's not enough for you. There is an opportunity for you. So I want to just encourage you in this moment to not lose hope, to not lose heart, to not give up on your career right now, because your career goals are too important for you to let go. And so with that, I want to say thank you. We'll be back next week with a special guest. I'm excited for that one. I'm not going to tell you just yet. You'll have to wait for the flyer. But thank you again for watching tonight. And if you have any follow-ups, comments, what I can do better, I would also love to hear those as well. So please feel free to DM me, comment on the live stream. And again, thank you for your time. And I'll see you next week.